Ahead of the 2027 election, some members of the Senate and House of Representatives are proposing that the presidential and governorship elections be conducted in November 2026, as against February or March of the election year. The proposal, as contained in the draft copy of the various amendments being sought in the 2022 Electoral Act, wants election into the two offices to be conducted not later than 185 days before the expiration of tenure of the incumbent, which is May 29. The proposals were brought to the fore during a one-day public hearing by the Joint Committee of the Senate and the House of Representatives on electoral matters. Many of the stakeholders at the event demanded electronic voting and electronic transmission of election results. And joining me now to discuss the proposed amendment to the Electoral Act is Otabor. He's the Director of Strategy, African Center for Leadership, Strategy and Development. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Otabor.
Thank you for having me.
So on paper, it does sound good. I mean, so nobody gets into office with a cloud of litigation into office. But what sort of pressure does that put on INEC, and is it realistic?
No pressure. I don't think there's any pressure on INEC. And I think that it's important that we look at this proposal amongst the various electoral reforms that have been proposed over time. Definitely, the issue of elected officers, elected politicians being in office while litigation is going has always generated a lot of concern. Because apart from having governance on uncertain waters, it creates a situation where the incumbent already has even what you could call an advantage, even if there are litigations. So it has always been there that the proposal that let's conclude all litigations before the person is sworn into office. So I don't think that is a new initiative. But if they are deciding now to do it, and because of the mandatory numbers of days that they need to give in terms of the election, they have to backdate to November. I don't think it puts anybody under pressure, really. We're
talking about logistics. We're talking about voter registration and all of that in place.
Yes.
Because you're now bringing it 6 months further. You're now bringing it to 2026 as against 2027.
Yes, but if this law is passed as expeditiously as it should be, there's enough notice to plan. You know, one of the reasons that we've always had issues is that this electoral act that normally would regulate the election are normally passed too close to the time of the election. But if the joint House of the Senate and the Reps have started now to look at this electoral act 2025, and they are able to work expeditiously to pass it, there's enough time. INEC has not really grappled with time. They have really more grappled with funding. Funding has really been an issue. So I think if we can generate the political will right now to pass this on time, and everybody knows that this is the timeline, then everybody's going to work within that timeline. And I do not see any issue at all or any pressure.
Great. So on paper, like I said, it looks good. But let's go to the courts, because what this also seeks to do is to reduce the tribunal timelines from 180 days to 90 days.
Yes.
Does that not depend on the courts, who we know what litigation can be like in our courts? It's okay for the National Assembly to sit down and make those laws, but in practical terms, can our judicial system handle that?
That is why I said that this initiative must be seen within the wider context of the broad electoral reforms that is being proposed over time. And one of them also has to do with the timelines that judiciary should have. And it should be stated that all election cases should be adjudicated before a certain time. So if everybody has that timing in place, then everybody is going to work towards that time. And let me say something also. One of the things that has been mentioned within their broader electoral reform is the fact that all pre-election cases must be dealt with before election. So that is why it's not just taking one aspect of that reform and then working with all the other connecting issues must be treated in tandem. And so while you are dealing with having this issue of this dates for elections, you must also deal with the cases that will come after that. So we believe that if all these are clearly said and the timelines are known to each party, the judiciary, the political parties, and all of that, and they are synchronized into that electoral, which I have a copy here.
Yes.
it's better, and then it will help everybody to know what timelines are available, and everybody will fit into that timeline. So it's very doable.
Okay, finally, before I let you go,
Yes.
it also talks about, they're also proposing mandatory electronic transmission of results.
Yes.
Early voting for essential workers, including journalists
Yeah.
and INEC officials
Yeah.
themselves,
Yeah.
as well as tougher penalties for malpractices. Do these reforms, do you think they will get us closer to credible elections, or are we focusing on procedures rather than substance?
No. That's why I mentioned the fact that it has to be that omnibus thing.
Yeah.
All of these issues that have been dealt with in this particular electoral law amendment, they are things that have been on the table for a long time.
But they have not been done.
Yes.
What's the guarantee that will be done now? Any guarantees?
If it's made a law.
Okay.
This is the reviewed highlight. If it is made a law, it becomes a law. And once it's a law, everybody will comply. Let me quickly say this before I leave.
Yeah.
The issue of early voting has been something that's been on the table, because it's estimated that almost 2 million people are disenfranchised when they don't have the opportunity to vote. So it's time that we dealt with that population. So this will really come in play at the very right time. And let me say to you that I believe something about Nigeria. Once you put this as a law, everybody is going to work towards ensuring that it succeeds. So there's no problem about that.
All right, very optimistic, Mr. Otabor, because we do have laws in this country. We are not short of them. But thank you for your optimism.
Thank you for
He's
having
the
me.
Director of Strategy, African Center for Leadership Strategy and Development.